there was no plan B, you know what I mean? And I think that when you've got no plan B to fall back on, and also, how fruitful and advantageous and beneficial that plan A could truly be, that's very motivating, man. You're willing to sacrifice and give up a lot. You move with passion, excitement. You go through adversity and you're trying to find the good and how to tweak and how to adjust to get better, because it's a true commitment that, man, this thing's gonna work.
I'm like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'm a live it to death. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Living Hope Agency Call. I couldn't be more excited to have, recently one of my good friends, as well as, huge mentor virtually. Now we've got some, we've been able to talk a little bit more regularly, which has been fantastic. And I've learned so much from this guy, Paul McClain. He is, the #1 agency manager in Family First Life. He's a multi-year Hall of Fame producer, and he's just got, over a decade of experience selling insurance in the field, even before his team started blowing up. So I could not be more excited to have Paul on. He's a super humble guy. I'll pump him up because he won't pump himself up. I call him a master sales trainer because that's exactly what he is. And the only reason he's got that title is because he's put in more repetitions than everybody on this call combined. So I'm honored to have you on the call, Paul. Thanks so much for joining us,
Dude,
man.
Hey, it's an honor to be on with you, brother. And after 15 years, you become a master, I guess, at whatever you're doing. I was just talking to a younger group downstairs, and they said, man, the way you kind of approach it almost seems like it's an act. And I was like, well, dude, after 15 years, man, it flows like an act. And this guy's got a black belt in karate. I was like, dude, it's like when you're in a match, like it's fluid, dude. Like you probably kicked me upside the back of the head and I wouldn't even know what took place. And I said, that's one thing I remember thinking about, Jamie, a while back, was like, that 10,000 hours of, concept, the 10 years of practice concept. And that was probably one of the concepts that produced the most hope for me, because I looked at my current skill level and I was like, dude, I suck, man. Like I can't book nothing. I sound weird, sweating, dude. Like I'm nervous. And I was like, but if I just keep at this thing, eventually it'll pop. And I remember sitting at a conference, Jamie, and sitting next to Andrew, and we looked at each other and I said, dude, just think, man, one day we're going to be able to communicate like that. One day we're going to be able to understand like that sales process and the psychology behind the selling, like understand and know the word tracks. And one day we're going to be able to recruit and know how to recruit. And we're going to know how to get agents going like these other people that have kind of already gone that path. And it's just funny, man, if you just put your head down and you just go to work, that process will eventually lead you exactly there. It's kind of an inevitable thing that'll take place. And Jamie's right, man. Like I guess we did a podcast a couple weeks back, and I did. It was very much my pleasure and privilege to do it because I got to know you, man, and your story and what you've done, and it's very inspirational. I love the name. I think that hope is what we're all created to go out there and have, because it's looking forward and ahead. And I love what you've done. I love the fact that you're leading by example like this, Jamie. I mean, that's very aspirational, man. And I think that when you have somebody that's in the trenches, going to work, that's getting muddy and dirty, and at the same time saying, hey, let me show you how to go forward, because I'm making that march forward. I'm going through the minefield, and I can also show you how to build and grow along the way. That's a beautiful thing. So, anyways, man, it's a privilege of mine to be on with you guys. It's excited to be on with you, man.
I love it, man. So you've been in the industry now for, you said 15 years?
Yeah, so 15 years now, man.
That's incredible. So guys, believe it or not, Paul has actually been in the industry longer than Sean Mike. So Paul got started in the industry before Sean did. I'd love, Paul, if you could just give us your background a little bit, because you got started at a very, very young age. You come from, humble, work background. No background in insurance whatsoever. So I think maybe that could be encouraging for somebody to hear that you can come from, that humble of a beginning and, attain this skill set, which you've been able to attain.
Yeah, man. I mean, so I got started when I was 19. At that point in time, dude, like what seemed to be like a very adverse situation was probably what birthed my commitment level to actually go out there and see success through a process that was pretty strenuous, you know what I mean? Like we started out at a 55% comp. I got started in 2008, 2009. And so the recession was taking place. I didn't even know what a recession was because I didn't even know what an economy was, to be honest. I cheated through economics. I didn't know what economics meant. I just sat next to the smart chick that studied and I didn't. And I'm being kind of flippant, but I'm not. Like I really didn't know we were in a recession. But when I got started in the business, man, I had my girlfriend, now wife at the time, was pregnant, Jamie, and with our oldest one that's now 15. And dude, I was just kind of like hoping that something would work out. I was just really looking for a shot. I had no clue what that shot was going to be. Really, I was looking at something where in 4 years, I thought I would get a degree. And then that was going to be my solution to all my problems because nobody in my family had ever had a degree. My dad's a plumber. His dad worked at Edison. And there was really there was nobody, dude, on both sides that had ever gone to college, as crazy as it sounds, and had a degree. And so my thing was, I'm going to go get a degree. I was going to, look at accounting. CPA was kind of what my thought process was. And so I was in my first year of going to Cal State San Bernardino, and my cousin at a family barbecue was like, hey, man, I just got my license. Do you know anything about life insurance? And just kind of opened up a conversation. And to be honest, man, he could have said he was selling crack, and I probably would have been in, dude, because I needed to make some money, dude. I had a baby coming. I was just glad it was something that was legal and moral and ethical, because I wasn't really saved then, So he's like, this insurance thing, and I knew he did mortgages and did well. And in hindsight, it all makes sense. I didn't realize that, it's 2008, right? Recession's going on and mortgages are falling out the way. So he was reinventing himself, right? He was reinventing himself because, this recession was looming. And so he's like, I'm going to get in the insurance business and I'm going to do something what I've heard to be recession proof. And so he introduced me to the company and into the insurance industry, and I got my license. And really, man, like there was no plan B, you know what I mean? And I think that when you've got no plan B to fall back on, and also, how fruitful and advantageous and beneficial that plan A could truly be, that's very motivating, man. You're willing to sacrifice and give up a lot. You move with passion, excitement. You go through adversity and you're trying to find the good and how to tweak and how to adjust to get better, because it's a true commitment that, man, this thing's gonna work. And that's really what it was, man. I put my head down and, we started out at 50% comp, and I went out there and realized that a lead's a lead. I was calling leads that were, 2-3 years old. They're all mortgage protection. My biggest objection wasn't, hey, can we get a quote? My biggest objection was, hey, fool, we don't have the mortgage no more. So I was like basically like pouring salt in an open wound, because they had lost the house because the mortgages were half of what they purchased them for. And I'm calling them out saying, hey, I'm Paul with the Mortgage Protection Center. And I just learned how to like find solutions, man. And it was something that if you didn't, you weren't going to survive because of the climate. So I figured out how to overcome objections and get in the house even when they didn't have a house. And I was meeting them at an apartment, even though they sent in a mortgage protection lead. And I just realized that, man, every family either has life insurance. If they do, that we have so many products and options that we could probably give them a better plan. Or if they don't have life insurance, they desperately need it. This is the most important thing they're ever going to get in place for their family. And so I let that belief be so deep rooted that it was just a deep conviction. So when I called the family, man, it really didn't matter what they said or didn't say. My expectation was I'm getting in the door. And I think that was a big thing that drove me in the beginning to develop a skill set when it came to sales. Was I was always kind of looking at the fact that I should make this shot. It's like Steph Curry, dude. He believes he's going to make every dang shot. Does he make them all? No, but he believes he can. And so that belief continues to get him to focus on getting better, making adjustments, tweaking, looking at game film. And I think that's kind of where I was at, man. It was like, dude, I want to become an expert and become really good at this thing. And so I'm going to be very diligent, just like, Kobe Bryant taking shots and trying to become excellent in basketball. Like this was my basketball. I stopped growing when I was 11. So this was my basketball. I had to be great at it. And so that was my focus, man. And the thing I want to point out real quick, Jamie, and I'll open it up because I know you got questions, but this is what I thought about the other day. So when I got started back in that recession, right, I didn't know, like, because I didn't have much money. I was just getting moving, dude. I was trying to get things going. But, dude, what a great opportunity. And by the way, we're in that same season now. I thought about this the other day as I was looking at some article and reading about it. It gave me almost deja vu of how I got into the business. Like, that's where we're at right now. I mean, mortgage foreclosures are up like 700%. You know, you look at inflation is higher than it's ever been since the early 1980s. You've got, you know, I think 95% less mortgage applications, refi applications than there was the same time last year. You've got interest rates that are now going up above 6%. I believe they're going to be above 10%. And so you've got all this taking place, man. You're getting ready to experience that which what we've experienced, you know, 15 years ago. And the thing is this is the best opportunity for everybody on here. You want to know why? Because great people typically will close their mind when they're getting by and doing better than they thought they were going to, or when things are comfortable. But when things get rattled, and now you got real estate agents, mortgage officers, you got all these people that are used to making money, that are hungry men, they want to get after it, and a recession just rattles them, it shakes them, it disturbs it. Now they're looking to say, man, I got to reinvent myself. I'm going to do something different. And take a look at this, Jamie. So this is what I thought about. So I started in 2008, the Great Recession. Andrew Taylor did. Shawn Mike started in 2009. That was a recession. He was doing real estate. Mike Killamit, he was a mortgage broker. That's what he did for a living. Matt Smith was making a good amount of money selling cars. What happened? The recession happened, right? So and you guys know how great Matt Smith is at selling. Very hard worker. I mean, look what he's built. But that recession, man, it rattled that industry, rattled him. So guess what? His closed mind opened up. You take a look at Mark Mead. Mark Mead was in the mortgage industry. And now, when did you find it? The insurance industry, 2009, 2010, right? So and by the way, I just named every one of the top organizations in the entire company. When did they start? In the recession. And outside of me and Andrew, they all had a pretty good skill set and success before. I mean, Andrew was bagging groceries, I was pumping septic tanks. We just kind of happened to fall into it at that time, right? But all these people that had made good money, that had success, you know, qualities and principles in place, they were looking for something. And so right now, we're stepping into that. I heard a great analogy. It said, like, you know, when things are booming and going so well, it's like having a forest that hasn't been affected by anything in a long time. These trees become massive. You can't even look up and really see what kind of sunlight's coming in, right? What's being birthed at the bottom, it's clouded. You don't get what you need because there's so much there. But organically, there's always a fire that comes. And that fire happens in patterns and cycles. It's inevitable. And when that takes place, everything's black and dark for a short period of time. But then guess what happens? New green, new growth. And I want you guys to really hold on to this. The hope that no matter where you're at, guys, buckle up. You're getting ready to step into the best season that you might ever step into in the rest of your life. Now, I know that might sound like, man, you're just trying to motivate us. Well, I gave you some context before I dropped it on you, right? So that we understood that that's not what I was trying to feed you. This is the truth. This is the reality of what's taking place. Look at the numbers. Look at everything. This is happening. And what happens is the person, it's a shift that it was just hard for them to get to wealth and abundance. They have a shot now that everything's been burnt down and they can get the right nutrients. You're now set up to capitalize based off the way you're positioned and when you're positioned. The other thing is this, your insurance license, man, it's a license to print money. So Jamie, I didn't even know this was happening, but this is what was happening without me being aware it was happening. I was out there, dude. Like I knew my biggest override was on my pen, dude. I was slinging insurance. Like, I mean, I didn't care if I was gone for 5 days. I figured out a way to write, 10K in 2 days. Like I was not going to miss my goal with production. So I was building cash flow up. Now my cash flow, the best thing I fed was my business. So I had my staff, putting back, marketing. Like I was doing that, but I wrote so much business and I had overrides coming in because I was recruiting like crazy that I started to build a good cash flow position. And guys, during a recession, you get things on discount. This is when you can go out there, and if you're not sacrificing, you're kind of okay with a little bit, Go out there and create cash flow. Your license gives you the ability to create cash, and that's king right now. So I bought my first rental house, myself and Andrew, in 2010. Just really 2.5 years after we got in the business. They say, well, that's for, dude, the house, guess what I bought it for, Jamie? Guess how much for our first rental house I bought it for?
I have no idea. I have no concept.
It was $95,000, bro. Now
Wow.
you only got to put down, I think we put down 15% or 10% or something like that, right? Because it was conventional. So we only put down, I put down like, I don't know what, 8-9 grand. You know what I mean? It wasn't crazy. I think I put 5-6 grand into fixing it up. And so from 2009 to 2013, when the recession was still looming, like this housing market really hasn't started popping until like 5 years ago. So during that kind of season, that winter, I picked up like 8 rental houses, man. And I just sold like 5 of those things, and I sold every one of them for over $400,000. And I'm getting ready to stick on this cash because cash is king right now. I'm getting ready for things to drop, and I'm going to go in and buy them at discount. What I'm saying is, guys, be aware of the season you're in. And if you go research, spend 3 hours, it's worth it. Trust me, spend 4 hours researching and looking into what time you're in right now. This is the time where you go out there and create massive cash flow. You're going to be able to hire better employees than ever before, right? You're going to be able to hire better agents that are hungry, that have some success. And, you know, like this is a great time to build this thing. People are going to be desperate, like Mark Mead was, like Sean Mike was, like Mike Killamit was, like Matt Smith was. They're great people, desperate for a shot. And when they had the shot, they weren't going to miss it. And now you look fast forward 15 years down the road, these are all integrity partners that have now created that big forest tree. This is your time to grow that big forest tree and change your family's trajectory forever. And that's just my opinion on it. That's what I believe to my core about it.
Thank you, man. And I think that there's going to be so many people on here that are going to be encouraged by that. I mean, when you look around at the times that we're in, there are going to be some people who, you know, they stop and they freeze and they try to, you know, just hope that somebody's coming to save them. And other than Jesus, guys, no humans coming to save you. I just want to make sure y'all know that. So, Paul, if you could just give some encouragement, maybe, because there's obviously a different variety of people on this call, people who are seasoned agents, people who are brand new agents, and some who are maybe prospects that are checking this out because, you know, their soon to be manager invited them on here. But just some encouragement for somebody that they know that they're in the right place, right time, right people. But then also maybe let's talk about a few landmines that a new agent could avoid that maybe you stepped on in the beginning to help them find success a little bit faster.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, man. So for me, Jamie, like I grew up with my dad's a plumber. You know, like I talked about, we didn't have any kind of like, I didn't have an entrepreneur, somebody that had created massive success in business, really kind of saying, hey, let me show you forward. It's like the whole rich dad, poor dad. I didn't have a rich dad to kind of show me what it looked like to be success, to think big, right? So when I got into business, man, my whole thought process was very much associated to an employee mindset. And the way I was raised was like, dude, money don't grow on trees, try to hold on to it. So one of my biggest struggles was, I spent so many hours dialing the phones because I didn't invest the right amount in leads. Now, I wasn't going to miss my goal, but in my mind, I just dialed and dialed and dialed. So I would dial starting at 7 a.m., dude. I wouldn't leave until 9 p.m. ever without my appointment being booked because I didn't buy enough resources. So I was like this thrifty dude, like, man, if I got to squeeze it to death, you know what I mean? Like, and the reality is there's a balance to that, right? On the other end of it, you can buy way too many leads and you're not monetizing and serving the families that you've got. But there's also a time where you got to look at the trade-off. And so one of the big things that I stepped on, man, was sitting back, finally realizing that, dude, if I invested another $600 in leads and had more quality people to call, wasn't having to call the same numbers over and over again, trying to squeeze, if I just gave myself more shots, if off those $600 in leads, I just made one sell, I would double my income. And I'm going to be able to book my appointments at least 5-6 hours faster. So that gives me the ability to have 4 more appointments. If I make 2 sales of the 4, I just increased my profitability through the roof, even though I invested more. And so I think for me, Jamie, I had to really understand that, dude, this business, you have to look at everything in the right way. You have to look at the trade-offs of it. Same thing with staffing. I used to think like, man, I could just do that stuff. And it wasn't until, dude, really like a month in, I was sick and tired of scrubbing apps and doing all these things. Where I said, man, if I hired an assistant and I paid $500 a week, right? And the funny thing is, this is back when minimum wage was $7, Jamie. I hired my Aunt Michelle. She was on disability. And so she's like, I'll work for you, but you better pay me underneath the table. You ain't messing up my Social Security check. And I was like, all right, done. So she came and worked for me, dude. No kidding. To start off 15 hours a week, I gave her $150 a week, $10 an hour, minimum wage 7, I thought she was doing well for herself. And I was at a 55% comp, bro. I had a newborn that was born that we just had, Peyton was probably maybe 2 months at the time. I got my license in August. She was born in July. And right away, I just understood that if I can give her 10 hours, 15 hours of work, how can I not go out and make one more sale in 15 hours? And then if I made one sale in 5 hours, I've got 10 hours to recruit and build my business. So I think those are the things that, I had to really kind of learn. And some of them I caught quick, sometimes some of them I didn't. But really always looking at stuff in a way that it's a trade-off. And I think the other thing, Jamie, is having the right perspective. Like, this is great, right? This opportunity is unbelievable. I mean, you look at how many integrity partners there are with Family First Life. That should be so invigorating for you guys, because that's proof of concept, man. That's like, it's not like one person did it, guys. Like, go watch these videos of these different integrity partners for FFL. No other IMO in the nation has more than, like, I don't think, 2 integrity partners within an IMO. And FFL has created all these other IMOs, and IMO is an independent marketing organization. Integrity wouldn't have partnered with me if I didn't own my own IMO. They wouldn't pay me for FFL if they owned me. Look, they paid me because I own my IMO. You guys are all your own IMO. And when you look at how many integrity partners there are, that should get you excited, man. Like, this system works. This platform works. This is something I can duplicate, man. So what does it mean? It means you got to put the work in. Now, what you have to also understand, though, is who's given much is required. And as much as a blessing as it is to have the schedule and freedom, dude, there's a lot of responsibility. There's a lot of discipline that comes with that. There's a lot of times where you're going to get shook and you're going to have a negative experience, but is your response going to be a negative one or a positive one? That's the differentiator, because it's so easy. And I caught myself realizing that most of the times when I was in a valley and I was walking through a valley, it was because I put myself there. Because the response that I had to the negative event kept me walking through a valley that I was not intended to be walking through. Maybe I fell down, but I shouldn't have been walking down there. I should have got up and kept moving. But it was a response. See, the thing is this: when you might have it. I had a week where I had 9 no-shows in a row, and I had the biggest chargeback. My worst week in the field as a new agent, I had my most appointments booked. Dude, I was out of my mind because I was bragging to people at the out teams like, dog, I got 9 tomorrow. I'm stacked. No kidding. Honest to God, true story. I had 9 appointments booked. 9 of those fools didn't show up. I visualized just breaking a window. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted them to, I would rather them answer the door, spit in my face, and then close it. At least I felt like that. I felt like I was a lost kid at Target walking around and screaming mommy or something. Like, dude, am I even seen? Do I matter? But I had that in that same week, dude. I had no kidding. I had 7 chargebacks, like all hit my email. It was like the most asinine. It never happened like that. It was like, what in the world? It's like, is everything conspired against me, dude? What's going on? But what I realized is this, dude. That's the way it's supposed to be. Like, dude, if I'm getting ready to go out there and get financially free, I mean, think about, like, I would think about some like clients I sat with. Dude, they work 50 years to get a pension that pays them $4,000 a month or whatever. Dude, and I could go out there and create that in renewal income my first year. I can go hire a couple of, like, dude, it should suck sometimes. So I remember sitting there, kind of in this place of like, dude, do I I kind of do this whole woe is me and it's the leads and it's the clients and it's this, or do I sit and think like, no, dude, like this is exciting because this is why not everybody does it. Everybody can do it, but this is why they don't. Is because when this happens, which it will happen, and it'll happen in different ways. It'll have a different face to it, but it'll come at you again in different seasons. But I thought, like, man, this is good. Like, I'm glad this is happening. And I remember sitting back and really taking ownership in it. And the crazy thing is, like, my phone script at the ending and some of the things I did that really tightened up my show ratio that increased it by 20% for the rest of my career. It was birthed from me sitting there saying, how can I use this? What is this teaching me? And not only that, when I responded like that, what it did was it taught me that I'm the person that deserves to see success because I'm a responsible, accountable person that takes ownership, and I grow and get better from every situation. And that there alone, man, allowed me to defeat different levels of problems that I wouldn't have been able to defeat if I didn't rise above based off my response in that valley moment. And see, that's the thing, is that you're always looking at yourself, man. Like you see yourself, you're with yourself all the time. And be clear, I screw things up all the time. One of my biggest like struggles that I deal with, I think it's the enemy's got the same attacks all the time, and I think he understands the way every one of us individually, uniquely works to attack us. And one of mine is just not thinking I'm good enough. Like that maybe I'm just. I remember being 7 years into the business, and I'd been a top producer for 10 years, or for 7 years straight. And I called Andrew up because I had a bad day, and I had convinced myself that I was lucky for 7 years. Not like funny, like I was literally thought like I've been lucky for 7 years. I mean, I remember calling him, and he's like, dude, you sound like an absolute idiot, right? And I was like, no, dude, I'm serious. I was thinking like, I think I got lucky, dude. Like the county I'm running, it's probably just an easier county. Dude, I was convincing myself that I was lucky for 7 years. Why? Because my struggle is I don't think that I'm good enough. That's my struggle. Like I'm falling just more. I could do more. I could be more. That no matter what I accomplish, that I could have done better. And so the problem with that is there's a lot of truth to that. Like I can easily find things that will support that and validate that and strengthen that stronghold until it's what I absolutely believe. And then it consumes me and I drop below the level that God's called me to and the potential that he's got before me. So what I have to understand is that for me, I got to be conscious of that and aware of that. And so when I'm going through these valley moments, man, a lot of times that's when I can start to be like, see, I knew it. But that's where I was winning the battle, because I was showing myself like, dude, that's a bunch of crap. I got everything I need to go out there and get this thing turned around. I got everything I need. I'm going to find something. I'm going to see the seed in this. I'm going to perceive it the right way. So I receive the seed in it so I could grow into a different level, a higher level than I could ever grow in the first place. And that's, see, a lot of times the storms and stuff like that, it's shaping you, molding you, and developing you into this identity that says, man, I am the person that deserves this. Because that's the biggest issue most of you guys have. You just don't think you deserve it. That's a bunch of crap. That's a lie. But see, if you believe that lie long enough, it'll affect you as if it's true. And you can't defeat what you don't define. So I think for me, a big thing too, Jamie, is this business taught me a lot about myself. I became self-aware of just the deficiencies and the things, the lack mindset, different things that would keep me from going to the next level. And I would have never learned that, I don't think, if I wasn't put in a business like this. And I think a lot of people never really truly learn this because they just clock in, they clock out. They don't ever do things that cause them to create and think outside the box and develop. And I think that's what God created us to do, he created us to create, and he developed us to develop. And like in this business, you become the best version of yourself and identify yourself because of that, man. And so like I'm a better dad and I'm a better spouse. I'm a better friend. I'm better in all these roles in my life because of the character that I was established through fighting the storms in this business and seeing it the right way. And I just think it's a beautiful thing, man. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that's a big benefit too now.
It answers questions I didn't even know that I had. So I appreciate you, man. I think it's just important to note, guys, that this business really can transform you. I mean, we talk about a cheesy line, but personal development program with a pay plan. You're going to change who you are. I'm completely unrecognizable to the person that I was, 2 years ago. And there's so many people on here who are unrecognizable to that person as well. So, Paul, I think we would be doing everyone a disservice if we didn't talk about this. The phones. Sean always says the phones are the number one epidemic in the entire industry. So mastering the phones, getting comfortable on the phones, being somebody who has that rhino thick skin when somebody gives you an objection, when somebody says they didn't fill it out or they're not interested, understanding that that's a smoke screen, understanding that they did fill it out, they are interested, but the thing that they're not interested in is being sold because their phone's blowing up. They decided to fill out a quote tool for an internet lead. They've got 10 different people calling them. How can I establish myself as the anti-salesperson, the anti-telemarketer, the anti-twist your arm? How can I develop trust with the client and increase credibility and reduce sales pressure when they don't even know me and their phone's blowing up, but they are interested? They want to buy, but they do not want to be sold. And so I always talk to people about the phones and I say, actually, it's not your close ratio in the home. Because you told me you sat with 10 people and you closed 3. You actually have a really, really good close ratio for a new agent. It's the fact that you only had 10 appointments instead of 30. Should we have 30 appointments, you would have closed 9 or 10, and you would have been a top producer on the board this week. So, give me your thoughts on the phones and maybe, any tips and tricks for somebody, whether it's, mindset behind calling a lead, the psychology, or it's even, a specific word track that you can give a new person to give some confidence.
I mean, I think you have to set yourself up as being different when you're calling the lead. I know you got the telemarketers. I was just telling Hillary today, I was like, my phone's just blowing up with just a bunch of random people that are calling me up now, man. It's nonstop. And so I think that is something that is more now than it was before, where people can just call cell phones and they're telemarketing and what have you. So to me, man, like, I think it comes down to how the person sees themselves. I really do believe that. It's like the telemarketer, I don't think they're convinced that the person really needs them to be called. I think they're more like, can I get a sale? Can I get them? Can I keep them on the phone? Can I keep them on the phone? I think that's more of what their thought is. So for me, my mindset was, dude, like, I'm doing this person a favor. I don't think a telemarketer thinks they're doing you a favor when they call you. I don't believe that. For me, I really believe that I'm doing this client a favor, that they sent the form in, they asked me to call them. I could be doing a million other things, but because I really do sincerely believe to my heart of hearts that this is such an important thing for a family to get, that I'm going to stop what I'm doing and I'm going to call this client. I'm going to do them a favor and help them out. And even when I wasn't good, what I did know was I knew good people. And just like if I don't know how to fix a car, but dude, I know the best mechanic in the world, dude, and you start asking me about car stuff, I still exuberate confidence because I know I can give you that guy's number and that guy is going to help you. If I know that to be the truth, then I'm just as confident as if I am that guy. And so that's kind of how I look at this business, man. I have borrowed confidence. I borrowed the confidence from the people that I knew would help me and that would pick up my phone. I knew for a fact they'd pick up my phone, man. It's like, I would say, it's like, I'm in Apple Valley right now. Victorville's the neighboring city. You go to Victorville, bro, on D Street, you start walking down that late at night in a dark alley, bro, you're going to be like, this might be it. I'm going to die. I'm definitely dying tonight. I mean, because it's just in a good spot to be at, right? Especially if you're by yourself, the odds of you dying is probably greater than living. But if I'm walking down the dark alley, man, and I got 7 Navy SEALs with me, dude, I might instigate a fight, bro, just to see them whoop somebody. Like, you looking at me, fool? You looking at me? I might flex up on them because I don't even got to do the swinging. This dude's fully equipped. He's got a, he's gonna take him out. That's how I look at this business, dude. I almost had this weird confidence that even though I didn't have experience, like, I knew people that had experience. Now you got, dude, underwriting genius Slack. I mean, like, this is unbelievable. Like, I don't know how you don't have confidence. But when I called the family, I really believed that I was doing them a favor. And so my tonality, what I was saying, dude, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. How you say it's derived from why you're saying it in your belief system and thought process on what's taking place. I thought of myself as a doctor, and then they were the patient, and I'm giving them a call to try to get him in because, dude, they have a bad heart issue. I saw it up on the x-rays. We're running really behind, and we've got tons of people to get in, but I'm calling you back because I noticed that. And dude, it might not end well if I don't get you in. So I'm going to make an exception and get you in amidst the fact that my schedule is really too booked. So this is kind of my mindset. Dude, I remember, and I remember being in my mom's garage on Thunderbird in Felony Flats, Apple Valley. Now, it's called Apple Valley, but this part of Apple Valley is called Felony Flats. No kidding, because of the amount of felonies that are committed every single day there. And this is not a lie. In the hood. Now, my mom, AC costs money, so guess what? She didn't run. She didn't run the AC. Dude, the summer right now outside, it's 105 degrees. Like, I'm in Arizona, for God's sakes, right? So imagine being Jamie in Arizona, in Mesa, in a garage, a closed garage, with the TV tray and a fold-up chair. That's me, dude. That's me dialing my leads right there, right? I remember visualizing myself, though, as if I was on the 80th floor on a skyrise, my feet kicked back up on the desk. My assistant comes in, he says, Paul, I know you're really busy. I know you got a lot going on. But all these families, man, these ones fell through the cracks. I know you're managing this whole 80 stories here, but could you just call them real quick? And I'm like, dude, yes, I know how important like this is. I'll call them. And I give them a call. That's the frame of mind that I'm putting myself in when I'm calling them. So I'm not calling them this 19-year-old kid with the shirt off because I was dialing half naked because it was so dang hot. And that was one thing I was grateful for. They couldn't see me and I couldn't see them. I didn't see myself there. I saw myself over here, like running the show, doing them a favor. And so that's the difference, man. So now what you say is not as important as how you say it. And how you say it's going to be dependent on what I'm talking about here. This is the mindset stuff. This is the thought process stuff. The last thing I tell you is always be the one that's asking the question, man. The thing I messed up on the phones in the beginning was answering a question without asking the question in the answer. So Jamie would say, well, dude, what does this cost? Well, great question, Jamie. I got to see what you qualify for. And I'd pause. And then Jamie's going to say, well, great. Well, can you send it? And he's going to hit you with another objection, another question. And whoever asks the most questions is going to win. So I learned early on, man, to ask questions. And this is also an honest, true story. I remember getting an objection. The guy says, dude, just tell me what the price is, man. I don't know if you really want this or not. Can you give me a quote? And I said, great question. And I forgot what to say after that. But I remember just ask a question. I said, great question, man. What color is your car? He said, red. And he said, like, red, like why the hell you asking me what color my car is? But when he said red, I said, great, man. Listen, I'm dispatched in the area tomorrow. I'm going to get this information out to you. I know it's important. I got a 5 or 7, which is better. This fool said 5, and I booked the appointment, dude. No kidding, So whoever's asking the questions is the one that's going to win. So whatever you're going to ask me, I'm going to say, that's a great question. The purpose of my call is to see what you're going to qualify for at the best price possible. Now, Jamie, most families that send this request back in, they want to make sure that if they don't come home tomorrow, God forbid, that their family's not going to lose everything, that they're in an okay financial situation. Is it fair to assume that's pretty much what you had in mind as well? Well, yes, it is. Okay, great. Listen, we're really behind the next couple of weeks, but as a courtesy to you, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you between my appointments. Tomorrow I'll be dispatched in that area. I'm not going to have a lot of time, Jamie, but I'll put you down at 5 o'clock. The only thing I'm going to ask from you, though, is, man, I will need a window from 4:30 to 5:30. Is that going to be okay and fair enough? So the whole thing is like, I'm doing you a favor. I'm doing you a favor. I'm going to get you in. It's urgent. It's urgent. Everybody needs this. Everybody's getting this. You might not come home tomorrow. And then I'm asking questions the whole time because I should be. I'm the one that's guiding, leading, directing. I'm the professional. The professional is leading, guiding, directing. You lead, guided, direct with questions. So I mean, that's kind of that's my two quick piece on phones.
That's amazing. I think that, guys, you have to understand it's less about specifically having the best word track of what to say. And it's more about the skill set and the confidence to be able to answer a question with a question and be able to maintain control on the phones. I mean, that's the number one thing. You can learn that skill. It really doesn't matter what you say or what they say. So, Paul, we're going to open up for a Q&A here in a second. But the last thing I want to go over, just because I got so much out of it, I was listening to one of your classroom sessions about think about it. And I think that it would just be powerful for us to be able to go through a couple of scenarios to think about it. So, guys, obviously we know you listen to the Zach Tardowski trainings, you set the table hard enough and well enough, you're not going to get think about it most of the time. But then there's a scenario where it also becomes, how bad do I want to protect this family and show them that I care? So, Paul, I'd love if you could just walk us through a couple of scenarios of, think about it. And then right after you overcome it, they say, I want to think about it again, and just what you would do. And, obviously we can just kind of jump into that part of the training here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the first thing, dude, is to not give the think about it any merit, right? So I believe that most of the time an objection, if you spend too much time on it, what you magnify multiplies. And so the person's like, dude, I just can't, well, you're making it too big, dude. Like they weren't, it wasn't even really an objection. It was just kind of like, they just felt like they needed to say it. You know what I mean? It's almost like I think about, like, if you were walking down an aisle at Walmart and you're buying toilet paper on the toilet paper aisle, and I say, hey, Jamie, are you buying toilet paper today? You're probably going to be like, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. It's just a knee-jerk reaction. It's just what people say sometimes. I mean, dude, were you thinking about no, you were window shopping toilet paper. You might not purchase it today. You're just on that aisle. I mean, come on, dude. What world are we living in? But that's just to prove the point that it's a knee-jerk thing. So I think giving it no merit is the best thing. So if you say, Paul, I want to think about it, I say, perfect. Jamie, definitely understand. Now go to grab a driver's license, see if you qualify. Dude, you'll be so surprised how many times they'll just go get a driver's license. You say, wait, you didn't even acknowledge it. No, I didn't acknowledge it because it wasn't even real. It was that knee jerk. So I think that's the first thing. You don't give it any merit. Perfect, Jamie. I understand 100%, man. Go ahead and grab a driver's license, see what you qualify. Dude, they'll literally get up, get the driver's license, and it's you're good, right? And so that's the first way that I handle it. The other way, and there's a bunch of different ways that I would go back at it, but if you say, Paul, I really just, want to think about it. I'm not too sure, what I want to do. I say, Jamie, I understand 100%, man. I've done this for quite a while, and I feel like most families feel the exact same way. And Jamie, this is the one thing that I understand is most families, they'll spend like a couple days, a day or so, maybe thinking about it, or do you want to spend like 2 to 3 weeks thinking about it? No, just a couple days. I'll say, okay, perfect, Jamie. Now, most families, when they're thinking about it, there's a couple things that they think about. One is this something that's important to me? And Jamie, looking at the financial inventory and everything here, like, do you really believe that this is important for you and your family? Yes, it does. Okay, great. Second thing is Jamie, is this something that's sustainable? Like, it's something that's going to be there, because Jamie, the only plan that matters is the one that's there when you die. Is this something that's going to be sustainable? Well, yeah, Paul, this works great. Okay, good. The last thing is, man, you really like and trust me to be the person that's going to be here for you when something happens. Well, yeah, man, you're great. Okay, great. So Jamie, listen, it sounds like those are the things that everybody goes through. So let's see if we get you qualified, because that's going to be the thing that matters most, and we'll kind of go from there. And then I'll go back to it. Now, if I think about it is rooted in like the why, they don't see it as important, I'll say stuff like, Jamie, listen, I understand that. I agree with you. I feel the same way. And I think that most families feel the same way as far as wanting to kind of make sure that this is the best plan, the right plan. But Jamie, this is the reality, man. And I don't know how, I guess, to best articulate this, where I'm not overly passionate about it, but I am really passionate about it, Jamie, because, in our office, we have this happen. It seems like on a daily basis with the amount of field underwriters serving clients. Is the reality is, Jamie, you could be driving down the freeway tomorrow, and a 16-year-old kid is texting on the phone. He's been nowadays 16-year-olds, all they do is stare at their phone. He's now driving for one of the first times, phone's in his hand. He's not paying attention, and he hits you. And the person that comes home that night is not you. It's a police officer, and he's knocking on the door and he's holding your driver's license. Now, Jamie, the reality is this: why I'm passionate about saying this is because this is something that happens more times than you could ever believe it happens. And and I know that we don't know if tomorrow's going to be that day. Now, Jamie, what you do or don't do makes no difference to me at all. My family is taken care of. If I don't come home tonight, they're going to be fine. So it doesn't make a difference to me. But the reality is, serving families does make a difference to me. And I'm passionate about what I do. And so I can't feel good about leaving not knowing that you guys have got protection in place. You could tweak and adjust to do what you want to do in that 30 days. But let's make sure that you're qualified. And I think you would agree with me. And I'm 100% certain of this, that this makes absolute sense to get in place for your family. There's no way around that. I could see it. I can't convince you that you're going to want to make the premium payment. You can't convince me your family is not the most important thing to you. So let's just make sure that we get this in place. That's what we're going to do. Grab your driver's license. So just things like that where you can tell stories and get in background where they realize that, man, this does matter. See, the stories build emotions. The more specificity you can give, like the 16-year-old kid that just got his license and you're driving down the freeway. If you know the freeway that's by, call the freeway that's by them. But you want to make it real to them, because the thing is this: it's a thing that it's a product that's not tangible. If you can make it as tangible as possible and bring the emotion out, right? Emotion leads to motion. And so you get that emotion out. Now they're getting ready they're going to move forward. And then the logic is, I can afford it. The logic is, this makes sense. And when you've got the emotion and logic both blended together, you've got a client that's going to keep the policy in place. What you don't want to do, and Andrew just reminded me of this today, he was talking about some sales trainer. He said, and the guy's just saying, no, let's just see if we get you qualified. Let's just see if we get you qualified. Let's see if we get you qualified. I do that. Congratulations. Your chargeback is going to hit you before you get in your car. I mean, like, you got to go back to telling the stories and bringing the emotion in. But dude, like, if you go through that podcast, like I spent like 25 minutes. And the reality is, guys, I've closed so many 15 minutes in to the think about objection, meaning that I've said those things and they say, we hear you, but we still want to think about it. And I go again, and I go again, and I go again. And I got something that I'll go for 35 minutes, man. And that's how you get your close ratio so high. And those are the clients that do never cancel the policy. And you're like, dude, this dude's going to stand up for me, man. Like, my God. And they never said, dude, can you leave? This is too much pressure, because it was coming from a source of passion, not pressure. And so you should watch that, because you're missing a lot of sales thinking that you're going to push your client too far. You can push people way further than you think. And if you've not pushed them too far, you don't know how far to push. My goal that I would give you today and this week is go push somebody far enough where they actually say, whoa, dude, can you leave? That's a lot. And you'll be shocked that came way further down the road than you thought it was going to come.
That last part's powerful. You know, don't push as far as you can go, because you don't realize how far that actually is. And guys, I've only been asked to leave out of 2,000 appointments maybe once or twice. I want to swing for the fences. I want to try to protect the family. I don't want to be the guy who leaves the house with my tail between my legs. So I appreciate you saying that, Paul. So a couple rapid fire questions, and we'll get to everybody off of here and back to their night. I have a full-time job working 4 10-hour shifts a week. Can I be successful 2 or 3 days a week starting out?
Absolutely, man. I think you've actually got a better shot of being successful in all candid than somebody that's stepping into this business that's never been self-employed before, because they don't know